Hello and welcome to DD India. I'm Akshay Dongre and you're watching our special program Voice of the Global South, a show that brings to you stories, news, achievements and concerns of a rising aspirational world. So let us begin with today's episode. In a testimony to the ever-growing cultural relations between the two historic civilizations of Asia, relics of Lord Buddha and his two principal disciples arrived in Thailand all the way from India. The arrival of relics has prompted celebrations in the Southeast Asian nation, with people from the King of Thailand to the common people visiting the holy relics. People from all over Thailand are pouring into Bangkok to get a glimpse of holy relics of Lord Buddha and his two principal disciples on a historic exposition in the Southeast Asian nation. For millions of followers of Buddhism, these are not mere relics but Lord Buddha himself. The four holy relics are bone fragments of Lord Buddha which were excavated by the Archaeological Survey of India in 1970s from Piprawa village in North India, about 9 miles from his birthplace, Lumbini. These four relics are part of 20 holy relics of Lord Buddha which have been kept at the National Museum of India in New Delhi and have been sent on a 26-day exposition after a request from the Royal Government of Thailand after a gap of 3 decades. The journey of these relics began on 22nd February with holy chants by Buddhist monks. For the first time, along with the relics of Lord Buddha, the relics of his two key disciples Arahata Sariputra and Arahata Mudgalayana have also been sent for the exposition by the Government of India, along with a 22-member delegation headed by the Governor of Indian state of Bihar. India on various occasions has sent the sacred relics for exposition, which started from 1976 when the relics were sent to Sri Lanka, followed by Mongolia, Singapore, South Korea and Thailand. As the relics arrived in Bangkok in a special Indian Air Force plane, Thailand welcomed them with state honours, after which they were enshrined in the Royal Palace grounds by the Prime Minister of Thailand. The enshrinement ceremony saw the cultural connect between India and Thailand with parades and cultural performances by the people of the two countries. The exposition prompted celebrations around Thailand, with people from all over the nation transforming the capital into a pilgrimage hub. The King of Thailand paid his homage to the holy relics at Sanam Luang, the Royal Palace grounds.
Buddha is the most interesting and most important for our people. So to visit here is very, very good for our life, because we don't know any time or any way how can we find again this good opportunity like this. So very thank you for Indian people.
Meanwhile, the Indian diaspora in Thailand is hoping for stronger Indo-Thai cultural connect as a result of the exposition.
We are very happy that the Government of India has sent holy relics to Thailand. It means a lot to the people of Thailand and will enhance the relation between our countries.
Amid the exposition, the Thai and Indian officials also emphasized on the historic bond between the two countries.
The way Government of Thailand has given royal welcome to the holy relics of Lord Buddha with the presence of Prime Minister and Supreme Patriarch of the country has highlighted the century-old ties between two civilizations, which is only going to deepen further.
We believe in Buddhism and we believe that the message of Buddha will make the world more peaceful. India is the land of Buddha and both of our countries have a shared heritage. This exposition has shown the good gesture of the Government of India towards Thailand. It's not the hard power, but the power of religion and shared culture that will create harmony among people. For exposition, it is not just the Thai people who are coming, but we have also invited all followers of Buddhism around the world for this rare event.
Meanwhile, during the tour to Thailand, the Governor of Bihar also visited the historic city of Ayodhya, which is named after Ayodhya city in North India, the birthplace of Lord Ram.
The connect between the two countries, India and Thailand, is very deep-rooted. It should not be viewed superficially. that is the reason why we need to, our people from India, they need to come here again and again to see what cultural bonds we have in India as well as in Thailand.
The Holy Exposition of Lord Buddha's relics, which will go on till 19th March, spanning in 4 major cities of the nation, not only has strengthened the cultural connect between India and Thailand, but has once again highlighted the shared cultural values between the two historic civilizations. For millions of people who follow the path of Lord Buddha, what is kept in this pagoda behind me is not just an object or relics, it is Lord Buddha himself. And this exposition that is being carried out right now is a way of spreading the message that Lord Buddha himself spread, the message of harmony, the message of peace and the message of love. In Bangkok, Thailand, with camera person Mahesh Sharma, I'm Akshay Dongre, DD India. The ongoing conflict between Israel and Hamas is about to enter its 6th month. The conflict has not just resulted in terrible human cost, but has also exposed the massive loopholes in the global security organizations and their inability to stop such conflicts. What's even more tragic is the whataboutery that's going on over the conflict, while the innocent on both the sides continue to suffer.
A photo collage of the smiling young people killed by Hamas terrorists who attacked a music festival last October was set up by families and friends at the same site.
This picture brings such a power of the strength and of the beautiful kids that were here, and they will never dance again, which is the saddest thing that we can imagine.
The conflict in Gaza has been going on for almost 5 months now, with human cost at both the sides, with no respite in sight yet. Families of Israeli hostages held for 145 days in Gaza began a 4-day march from the Gaza border to Jerusalem in a unified call to free all hostages, while mediated efforts to reach a deal between Israel and Hamas were underway.
145 endless days and nights of yearning for our loved ones, which send them strength and ask them to hold a little longer. Omer, just a little longer. A deal is possible. Starting today, we will march for 4 days under the message, United for the Release of Hostages. We call on the public, on our families, on our friends, to join us on this march of hope from Gaza to Jerusalem.
Meanwhile, Palestinians displaced by the ongoing military offensive on Gaza are holding on to keys to damaged or destroyed homes, a symbol of their loss due to the ongoing conflict.
During the truce, I got in touch with one of my relatives who is there, and he told me, "May God compensate you. The house is gone." And I told him that I still have in hand the key that gives me direction. This key is left as a symbol of that house. This has been a symbol in our hands. That's the house, and this is the key left from that home, which I worked hard for. I am now 44 years old. At this age, I need to start my life from the beginning and build a new house.
Whereas builders of Palestine, who used to build houses before the conflict started, are now tasked with building graves.
As a human being who has feelings, it feels heavy to go from buildings, villas and buildings, which I love, to build graves. But I said, no problem, let's work. But the thing is that building graves is a difficult job, but not an easy one. The usual number would be 2 or 3 people per day. I would say we do not get 3 people in a week, but today the numbers are huge. Some days we would get 30-40 people. It is not a small number.
The US President Joe Biden said he hopes to have the ceasefire in place by 4th March.
Well, I hope by the beginning of the weekend. The end of the weekend. At least my national security advisor tells me that we're close. We're close. It's not done yet. And my hope is by next Monday we'll have a ceasefire.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, replying to the US President, once again resisted the increasing pressure to end the war, calling for campaign to continue until a total victory.
Since the beginning of the war, I have been leading a political campaign with a purpose to curb the pressures intended to end the war before its time, and on the other hand, to gain support for Israel. We have significant success in this area, because today the Harvard-Harris poll is published in the United States, which shows that 82% of the American public supports Israel. This means 4 out of 5 citizens in the US support Israel and not Hamas. This gives us another year of strength to continue the campaign until complete victory.
With the United Nations unable to bring respite to the sufferings of people so far, it once again reiterated the call to end the hostilities, calling out the war crimes committed from both the warring factions.
The war in Gaza must end. Clear violations of international human rights and humanitarian laws, including war crimes and possibly other crimes under international law, have been committed by all parties. It is time, well past time, for peace, investigation, and accountability.
As the world watches these developments, the lasting effects on the affected families and the broader geopolitical implications underscore the complexity of the situation, with a lasting peace still elusive for the region.
Two major maritime powers of the Indian Ocean region strengthened their bilateral relations and further enhanced their cooperation in the field of maritime security, as India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Mauritius Prime Minister Praveen Jugnauth jointly inaugurated a new airstrip and St. James Jetty along with 6 community development projects at the Agalega Islands of Mauritius.
Now invite a new milestone in the relations of India and Mauritius as Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Prime Minister of Mauritius, Praveen Jugnauth, jointly inaugurated a new airstrip and St. James Jetty along with 6 community development projects at the Agalega Island in Mauritius via video conferencing. The inauguration of these projects came as a testimony to the robust and decades-old development partnership between India and Mauritius and aims to fulfill the demand for better connectivity between mainland Mauritius and Agalega, strengthen maritime security and foster socio-economic development.
डेवलपमेंट पार्टनरशिप हमारे राजनीतिक संबंधों का अहम स्तंभ रहा है। हमारी विकास भागीदारी मॉरिशस की प्राथमिकताओं पर आधारित है, चाहे वो मॉरिशस की EEZ सुरक्षा से जुड़ी जरूरतें हो या फिर हेल्थ सिक्योरिटी। भारत ने हमेशा मॉरिशस की जरूरतों का सम्मान किया है। संकट कोविड महामारी का हो या तेल रिसाव का, भारत हमेशा अपने मित्र मॉरिशस के लिए फर्स्ट रिस्पॉन्डर रहा है। मॉरिशस के सामान्य मानवी के जीवन में सार्थक बदलाव हो, यही हमारे प्रयासों का मूल उद्देश्य है।
The inauguration of these projects is significant as it follows the recent launch of UPI and RuPay card services in Mauritius by the two leaders. Terming Mauritius as a significant partner for India's Neighbourhood First policy, PM Modi said that the two countries have achieved new heights in terms of mutual cooperation. Praising India as global powerhouse, Mauritius Prime Minister Praveen Jugnauth said that India's aspiring leadership radiates across the world.
The setting up of the new airstrip and jetty facilities in Agalega is the fulfillment of yet another Mauritian dream, which many generations have lived in their hearts. This could not have been possible without the assistance of India which has entirely financed these infrastructural projects. Shri Modi ji, I wish to convey to you the profound gratitude of the government and the people of Mauritius for the special consideration you have given to our country ever since you assumed responsibility as the Prime Minister of the Republic of India.
Mauritius also became the first nation to adapt the Jan Aushadhi scheme, which allows the sourcing of about 250 high-quality medicines from the Pharmaceuticals and Medical Devices Bureau of India. The inauguration of these projects is significant as it follows the recent launch of UPI and RuPay card services in Mauritius by the two leaders on 12th of February 2024, significantly enhancing the partnership between the two allies of the Global South. Bureau Report, DD India.
We will take a small break here and be back with more Global South stories on the other side. Keep watching.
Turning crisis into opportunity, transforming ideas into action, stories of real change, tales of sustainable solution.
This series is going to tell stories of such changemakers.
Watch Changemakers on DD India.
In a world that never stops, where information shapes our reality, one app stands out, helps you stay ahead of time. Introducing the DD India app, your gateway to a world of news right at your fingertips. Your most trusted source of news goes global, goes digital. Explore a world of options, top stories, live updates, in-depth analysis, and more. Stay informed wherever you are. Real-time alerts keep you ahead of the curve always. The DD India app, connecting you to the world one story at a time. Download now and explore the world of knowledge, insights, and authentic information.
Welcome back, you're watching DD India and this is Voice of the Global South. Let's move on to our next story. Climate change and its effects are becoming more and more visible, threatening the world as we know it. One recent example is South America, which is facing multiple disasters from wildfires to droughts, from floods to landslide, all simultaneously. Let's take a look at this report to understand what does the future look like if climate change is not immediately stopped by the world as one.
Apocalyptic scenes are being witnessed in several countries of South America as a result of climate fury across the continent, with Bolivia facing incessant rainfall since the last 4 months, resulting in deaths and displacement. Rains in Peru have resulted in landslides and health emergencies, whereas Brazil is facing floods and wildfires at the same time. In the northwestern city of Cobia of Bolivia, residents had to be evacuated in boats from the flood after the Acre River burst its banks due to heavy rainfall.
I have no help. Everything was flooded and my things got wet. Everything was washed away. I have nothing left.
National Service of Bolivia announced that in February 2024, the accumulated rainfall massively exceeded the normal rainfall. Brasilia, a city situated in the west of Brazil, was isolated due to the exceptional rise in the Acre River in Brazil caused by heavy rains. Moreover, 11,000 people have lost their houses or have been evacuated, and 17 out of 22 cities are declared to be in emergency. Meanwhile, fires in Roraima, a state in northern Brazil, have broken records for increasing by 465% over last year, measurements in the period from January 1 to February 26 amid a massive drought.
We are experiencing the most severe drought in the last 17 years, including the water of the Rio Branco, which are now 2.5 meters below the river's normal average, and the drought is still predicted to increase.
In Peru, rivers have been overflowing due to heavy rains, affecting hundreds and creating an urgent need for aid. The Peruvian government has declared a state of emergency in 100 districts in 17 regions due to damage caused by the rains. Heavy rains also wreaked havoc near the iconic Machu Picchu, blocking rail links and flooding roads and train tracks in the village.
We have not seen this magnitude of disaster. It's a landslide that covers an extension of almost 1 kilometer. This is beyond Machu Picchu's municipality's budget. I think this is already a regional responsibility. The rains are going to continue all these days. There was also a small landslide in the Aguas Caliente River, and the population is already being affected.
The continuous rains have also led to substantial losses of animals, crops and vital food sources. The dire situation of extreme climate crisis has further resulted in a health emergency across Peru with a spike in dengue fever cases.
To tackle dengue and measles, I must announce that 20 regions of the country will be declared in a health emergency for 90 days due to the dengue issue.
Over 30,000 people are currently suffering with the disease, with the death toll crossing 30. South American nations are struggling through these challenging times, yet the road to recovery remains long and arduous, requiring sustained support and collaboration to rebuild lives, restore infrastructure, and mitigate the impact of future climate-related disasters, which are only expected to get worse in the absence of immediate and tangible actions.
Nigeria, one of the most populous countries of Africa, is going through a difficult phase. With radical economic reforms by the country's president, the West African nation is facing unprecedented inflation and economic distress. Now, the people are taking to the streets asking the government for a much-needed respite. Let's take a look at this report to know what's happening in one of the biggest economies of the African continent.
Hundreds of demonstrators on the streets of Nigeria, rallying against one of the worst economic crises in the Western African nation. Facing crippling effects of economic distress, the people of Nigeria are voicing their frustrations over the spiraling cost of living and dwindling essentials like stable electricity and food security.
We are suffering. We are suffering for Nigeria. It's not like this before. But we want change for good. Hunger day for Nigeria. Children now, they are hungry. Adults are hungry. Sufferness is too much for Nigeria.
The protests have erupted against President Bola Tinubu's economic policies that have spurred the inflation rates by up to 30%, while the minimum wages have remained the same since 2019. The Nigeria Labour Congress, the trade union umbrella group of the country, led the charge, initiating a two-day strike condemning the government's handling of economic challenges.
There is suffering in the land. There is suffering for the worker. You know, no worker can live on 30,000 minimum wage. And over 150 million Nigerians are living below poverty line. Poverty, when you say below it, those are the people that can't get something to eat on a daily basis.
President Tinubu, who has faced mounting criticism, defended his administration's bold reforms, including the removal of fuel subsidies and currency devaluation. The consequences of these policies have been stark. Petrol prices have surged, more than tripling in 9 months, while staple food like rice have become expensive, pushing many into poverty.
I cannot afford to buy petrol to power my generator to water the farm because of the high cost of petrol. Things are difficult in the country, food is expensive, as well as several other items. The price of gari and rice are high. With these high cost of goods, we cannot train our children in school or manage to buy food.
Amid the economic crisis in the African nation, the government has started distribution of reserve grains and cash transfers to about 12 million vulnerable households. However, with deadlock continuing between the protesters and the government, the crisis is unlikely to resolve anytime soon. Bureau Report, DD India.
Every spring, the skies over northern Taiwan illuminate with lanterns in pink sea. However, the aftermath of discarded lanterns threatened the environment. Now, in an example of responsible celebrations of festivals, volunteers and school children in the country are working tirelessly to clean up the debris, aiming to educate and inspire future generations about the environmental impact of this tradition, ensuring a cleaner future for the city.
Every year, as spring beckons, the skies over northern Taiwan transform into a mesmerizing spectacle. Hundreds of lanterns dance into the heavens above Pingxi, a small town nestled in the mountains outside Taipei. Yet, when the glow fades, the aftermath remains. Discarded lanterns litter the countryside, posing a threat to the environment. But a group of dedicated volunteers is taking action.
When we release sky lanterns, we usually don't think about the environment. But if we had when we go to pick up the fallen lanterns, it is very annoying and tiring, so we don't feel like going to collect them. But I feel grateful to the teacher for giving us this experience.
Led by Chu Tai Shu, these volunteers, accompanied by school children, embark on a mission to clean up the debris. Their goal is to educate and inspire the next generation about the consequences of this age-old tradition.
If we can cultivate awareness for this kind of environmental education from an early age, the kids can be like a seed when they grow up and continue to grow branches and leaves and influence not only themselves but also their family closest to them, who they can in turn continue to do so. This is the effect we want to achieve. This is why we choose to take the children out for this activity.
In the midst of tradition and tourism, efforts are underway to mitigate the environmental impact of the Lantern Festival. From eco-friendly lantern alternatives to community-led cleanup initiatives, a brighter, cleaner future for Pingxi is on the horizon.
This is all we have for you in this edition of Voice of the Global South. Let us know your thoughts on the show. You can also connect with us on Facebook, X and Instagram. You can also check out our website ddindia.co.in. From all of us here in New Delhi, thanks for watching a special program. News and updates continue on DD India. Keep watching.